All right. Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to a new edition of our ClicData webinars. Today we're going to focus on a topic that is dear to the retail industry. We're going to be talking about how you can optimize the tracking of your different channel performance. And for that, I have the pleasure of co-hosting this webinar with Anna Walter, one of our senior business analysts, and I'll be doing the introductions to start with. A couple of logistics details to start with. First things first, if you have any issues with audio or video, don't hesitate to raise that on the chat. Be comfortable that this webinar is being recorded. It means that if you have to jump on a different meeting or if you want to revisit some of the stuff that we'll be discussing today, you'll have a chance to review all of that on our YouTube channel. And please don't be shy. If at any moment in time during this session and this webinar you have a comment or a question, I'll be more than happy to keep an eye on the chat and share that with the group. We'll have a special question and answer session at the very end of this webinar, but don't hesitate to comment and share your questions as we advance and tackle the different topics. And I'll make sure to share that with the group at the end. If you want to be vocal on our social networks on this particular webinar, you can definitely hashtag ClicData webinar on Twitter and react to what's going on in public. What are we going to discuss today? So I'm just going to say a few words about ClicData and who we are, and then we'll jump right away into the matter of today, which is how do retailers have a chance to centralize and unify their data across their different channels? And then we'll look specifically at how you get to measure your return on investment and your performance in general across your different channel as a retailer, how you can automate this whole process for your internal and your external customers, and we'll look at alerting your users topically on certain events in the dashboards. A few words about ClicData. We're an end-to-end business intelligence platform. We enable marketing, sales, financial controllers, business analysts in a more efficient way of doing analytics and data visualization. End-to-end means that we help you from your data source all the way to your dashboard with an integrated product. So that basically you have a chance to implement use cases faster. It's true for your internal use case, but it's also true if you're sharing dashboard with other people and you want to enable them real fast. There is definitely some time saving, and I'm only sharing here what our customers tell us. There's definitely some time saving in not doing the recurring reporting in a more manual kind of way, because you can automate the whole process, as we'll see in a minute with Anna. There is some significant time saving there. And I'm going to make it very black and white to simplify it there, but time is money. So that usually translates into an improved revenue stream, not only for the sake of having more efficient people doing the analysis, but also because you'll be able to pinpoint faster what works, what doesn't, and make adjustments accordingly. And all that said, I'm going to hand over to Anna.
Thank you, Ellen. Thank you for the introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Anna Walter, and I'm a senior business analyst at ClicData. So I'm part of the customer success and support team. Our team aims to help you guys making the best out of the platform. And so today we're going to talk about retail and channel performance tracking and how you can use ClicData to optimize your work in that area. So at first we'll talk about the data piece. So ClicData will help you to centralize and unify all your data in one place, whether it's sales, marketing, finance, customer support, whatever. You can all you can all create in one place. You can create all your data in one place and use that here. So we're going to see the benefits of this. First of all, I want to share a bit of few logos here so that you can see what kind of platforms and data sources you can actually connect to with ClicData. So I've divided this here into 4 buckets, but obviously you can have more. So basically, in retail, the first and the core of your activity will be probably an e-commerce platform and a database and/or a database. So in ClicData, we'll be able to connect very quickly in a few clicks to platforms such as Shopify, for example, or WooCommerce, but also to databases. So if, for example, you're working on a Magenta e-commerce shop, you can connect to the database behind it very directly through ClicData and gather all your data for your reporting into ClicData. We also have connectors for NetSuite and Salesforce, which are very easy to use and which will help you with no coding actually to retrieve data in your data warehouse in ClicData. So the other bucket would be the marketing and CRM systems. For example, all your social media platforms data like Instagram or LinkedIn ads, Facebook ads, Twitter, etc., could be retrieved and centralized in ClicData, as well as any website traffic platforms such as Google Analytics, for example, or others, CRM platforms, HubSpot, Pipedrive, etc. So these are just a few examples here. You can actually connect to much more platforms than those shown here. If you have any questions about other tools, please feel free to put that question in the chat, and we can answer that at the end. So another group of data sources would be the billing systems, financial platforms, such as, for example, Xero or QuickBooks. But also, when you're working in finance, you often work with Excel, for example, for your budget files and your forecast, etc. So that would probably be in Excel or in Smartsheet or maybe on an FTP server or maybe in OneDrive. So these are all sources as well to which you can connect to and that you can use in ClicData. And the last part is like more about customer satisfaction, but not only. So we do have connectors for Zendesk, for example, or SurveyMonkey if you're using those tools. But there is also a set of tools that will enable you to connect to any REST or SOAP API or even GraphQL APIs to actually retrieve data from services and platforms for which we haven't yet built a connector for. And these open connectors will actually enable you to multiply your data sources within ClicData and to build a full data warehouse, a centralized and unified data warehouse in ClicData. So the question is, why would you do that? So the idea is that in order to actually consolidate your different data sets together, you can actually use these ClicData tools to put everything in one place. And the result of that is that you can actually get more insights out of the combination of the different data sets that you have. So for example, the classic combination would be finance and marketing data sets, right? To see how your marketing performs and how your finance actually support that effort. Another example could be like how the marketing campaigns led across multiple channels and multiple social media, and maybe offline campaigns as well, could actually increase and have an impact on your social media growth and how actually people follow you on social media. Another one around social media would be how you actually is there a correlation between your followers' growth and your sales performance? And enabling that kind of view is very interesting because often you will have a very partial view if you look only at the tracking and analytics tools that are provided by the different social media platforms. The idea is that in ClicData, you can just unify everything in one place and compare that with your sales and marketing data coming from other tools. And the last example, which we often talk about and is interesting as well, you could actually connect to data sets like weather APIs and see whether the sun, for example, sun shining has an impact on your sales, especially in your store, in your brick and mortar stores. And so these are just a few examples of combinations that you can do, because you are aggregating the data sets from different places in one place in your ClicData data warehouse. But of course, there are lots more. So if you have ideas, by the way, just please feel free to share them. Okay, so in ClicData, you will have the ability to always provide fresh data to your for your reporting. Um, so you can set up the data refreshing in the best way that in the way that best applies to your data sources. I'm thinking, for example, as well of another feature which I haven't really written down here, but you can actually historize data in ClicData, so you can see how your performances grow over time, even though in the data sources themselves you don't have that history anymore. So different ways to do that. I'm not going to go into the technicals now, but the idea behind that is that we give you the tools to completely master how you want to track your performance over time. I'm thinking, for example, of social media platforms that don't allow you to see analytics past the last 90 days, for example. So you don't really know how you grow over time. If you just look at these analytics tools within ClicData, you can actually historize the data to make sure that you keep track of everything that happened, even back maybe a couple of years back on your platforms. So in order to do that, you have multiple ways to organize the data refreshing as well. So I've put a few use cases here. Which are not specifically related to social media. But for example, whatever concerns sales metrics, you would probably want to update that every day in ClicData, or maybe even after, if you want to report on a more time based manner to your teams. For example, if you want to track shop footfall, how many people come into your shop during the day, and you want to get alerted if for any reason the footfall drops or maybe rises for an expected in an unexpected manner. So for these kind of usages, you can actually set up data refreshers in a shorter period, like maybe every hour. You want to know what the footfall is for your shops, and you want to be alerted based on those data sets. Okay, so I don't know, Ellen, if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was gonna
that's what I was
say
like.
it means that not everything deserves live data refresh. What I mean by that is that you'll have a chance to set up those different frequencies depending on the type of data. A budget is pretty static normally, whereas some of the sales data is usually requiring a more instant kind of refresh. The store sales will probably be able to be grouped on a daily basis, but if you're trying to compare your store performance to your e-commerce platform performance, you're going to need some live data from the e-commerce website to understand which product preference are being appreciated right there and then. So and the other thing that you can actually personalize when it comes to the data refresh automation is the methodology by which you refresh the data. I mean, when we work with stores, a lot of the times they are connected their cash registers, and in that context, it's only relevant to go grab the new lines of data, whereas for other types of data sets, you may want to reload the whole set or just go grab the lines that have been modified. So this is also something that you can customize depending on the type of data and the type of data source.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. So we're going to jump into the next part of our topic today. So how do you actually compare your channel performance? So we've talked about how you retrieve data and how you can combine and then centralize everything. But how do you actually compare it? So we'll have a few visual examples, but first we also have a few um, customer testimonials here that Ellen, maybe you want to present.
Yes, indeed. So we've done some quite a bit of work with retailers. and the networks are always different. The channel network, I mean, and the specialties are also very much different depending on the customers. But here are three use cases that are quite relevant in terms of tracking performance of their different channels. Which, by the way, for each of those, you'll find a video testimonial on our website. But I'm not going to run the videos now. I just thought I would share the actual use case with you guys today, so you get a sense of how retailers see some benefits when it comes to unifying the data and tracking the performance in a timely manner. In the case of Sharps, it has to do with providing the store owners with a state of what they're at in terms of their sales. So it's recurring reports which are relevant to each of the store owners and the sales guys that have been entertaining those particular stores to understand how far they are from the objectives and that sort of stuff. Um, Crafty Arts, they're suppliers of they're art suppliers. They provide art supplies. It's more of a B2C kind of a situation. They used to compile all of their performance data on Excel. And so the big win here was to get data from all their different systems, so that instead of a manual Excel compilation, they actually have a chance to spend more time on actually analyzing what's happening through one single view across all of their systems and channels. And the last use case is a food broker who needs to send some timely reporting to the brands that they represent, and each brand will have a compiled view of their actual product performance in the different channels that the broker is pushing their product through. So those are some of the stories amongst our ClicData customers.
Okay, thank you very much. So here I've compiled a few ways to visually compare your channel's performances. So we're gonna just discuss a few here. So, well, you have many options, right, to display your data. You can use the very well-known pie charts or bar charts, but the way you actually design them is important because you can actually use the Click Data features to actually design and format all your visualizations based on what your teams and maybe external clients are used to see, because the idea behind visualization is actually people use your reports and do get insights from what you have set up for them to use, and that it speaks to them. So it's really important that you actually use the right type of visualization for your dashboards. I want to drill down a bit more into the two maps that we can see here. So the first one on the top is the sales count by state on a dashboard that we have. It's a dashboard example, by the way, that you can find on our website. Um, so this kind of map is highly appreciated because it can show in a very quick and visual way which states are actually performing better than others. And it's combined with a chart with a table on the right, which shows by state the actual figures, which you could actually see on the chart on the map as well if you would hover over each state, but which here is shown because of the tabular way in a much quicker way. And a very easy to understand way. So the two graphs combined together show a good example of visualization where you can actually play with different types of widgets, but that show and will talk to different type of users as well. So the graph will be, in this case, the graph here, the sales count by state. This will actually be colored by how many sales were done in each state, obviously, but the color will be the indicator of the performance. Whereas on the other map, which we have here, the UK map, this is actually a bubble map widget, which will actually allow you to have one more dimension on the graphical representation, because you can play with the size of the bubble for each here it's postal codes actually, for each postal code, but then also with the color. So you can actually give two informations on the same item, on the same map point, so to say, in a very quick way as well. So we can see obviously here that, for example, London is overperforming, which is obviously expected. But we can also see that there are some concentrations in other areas of this country. Okay, so one other benefit of having your data aggregated in ClicData is that you can then obviously aggregate those as well in your dashboards. So here I've shared an example of a dashboard where it actually combines data from two different data sets, HubSpot and Xero. So HubSpot is your CRM system, and Xero is a finance system and a billing system. So it will actually show you invoices and credit notes and such. So it will show you here how you can actually compare metrics from two very different systems in one place actually, and build meaningful insights out of it. So in a very quick way, you can see how the HubSpot deals, for example, here on the graph on the right, are actually growing, whereas Xero invoices have had a huge peak as well at the same time. So you can explore then if there is a correlation between those two information, and then take action based off that. You can create as many dashboards and reports as you wish in ClicData. So you can create all types of dashboards. For example, you could have overview dashboards for your leadership team, but then also more topical dashboards, maybe for your different teams in the organization, and then also have dashboards that actually really drill down into one specific campaign, for example, a marketing campaign that you would have an eye on. And on the other side, you could also create dashboards for your external clients. So, for example, you could create dashboards for your suppliers or for your dealership owners, and make sure that everyone actually has access to the data that you own and that you want to share with them, obviously. Um, and this way, make sure that all the business aspects or business teams and sides of your company are actually provided with dashboards. So you have the ability to create as many dashboards as you want, and then to share them as well as you want. So we'll tackle that a bit later. So I want to share a live example of a dashboard, which I think is pretty nice, and which shows different types of comparisons. I don't know if Ellen, you want to jump in as well a bit before, or maybe not.
So far, so good. I see quite a
Okay,
few questions coming through, so you'll
good.
you'll be hearing me a lot in a few minutes.
Okay, cool. Then let's have a look at the live examples. So let me just jump to my screen. Okay, so this is a retail analysis dashboard. It's actually broken down into two dashboards. We are here looking at the sales performance of a company that has multiple stores in different cities and that sells different brands within those stores. So here at the top, we have different time-based filters, so we can actually drill down into previous years if we want, and also define different periods within the year. And we can also open the filter panel here to select further, for example, for different stores or maybe just some brands or cities. So for now, we're just living to have everything here. So I found this dashboard an interesting example because it shows many different ways of comparing channel performance. So first of all, we have here this overview of current year sales and previous year sales and how they compare to each other. So it looks like this store this business is not doing so well. It is actually underperforming a bit compared to last year. But maybe looking at the details, we'll find another story. So here on the left, we can see, for example, the top 5 stores that have been selling the most, and so we can see which ones may be an example, a benchmark for the others. As well, we can see here how the monthly sales actually uh, they trend over time. So we saw here that over the whole sales from the full periods are actually a bit down, right? Based off last year performance. But here, if we look at the chart, we can see already that it's a bit different actually. It's only the very last month here where sales have been very dropping in regards to last year, whereas the other months were not so bad actually. And here we have it drilled down by brands, again with current year quantities and sales and previous year metrics, and how the change compares actually. So here we can see that we have a few brands. For example, this one, Crisco, is actually performing very well, and others are performing less well. So this gives you a good idea of actually what's going on. Why is my performance not so good? So overall, the picture might be a bit more details than just having the very high level information. So I want to show you the next dashboard, the item and brand performance dashboard, which is designed in a very similar way. Just going to wait till it loads, and I think it might take some time until it's reaching to our webinar tool. Okay, so I hope everyone can see it now. So
It's
this
looking
dashboard,
perfect.
cool, thank you. So this dashboard here is more focused on brand performance. Here on the left, we can find all the brands that we always also saw previously, and we can see again the same metrics. What's interesting here is that if I select a brand, I will have the performance and the channels for that specific brand. So for example, here we can see how the sales is distributed by store. We can see that this store here is actually the one that is selling the most items of that brand and making the most sales. And as well on this chart here, we can see which are actually the top products in that brand, which do actually make for the great sales. So, and also the monthly sales. So these are different ways really to compare your channel performance and also your product performance. So you can really actually show whatever you want in terms of drilling down and combine all of these charts together. They actually tell you a story of how you actually perform and where are the top performers and the lowest performers, and how you can actually help them, the lowest performers, maybe based on what you learned from the top performers. Okay, so the last section I wanted to tackle here is the delivery and alerts. So now we have consolidated all of our data in a data set in a data warehouse. We have built reports and we know how to build them. The last step now is to actually share them, and so you have different ways of doing that in ClicData. You can create automated delivery of your reports in different ways. You could set up a pace, for example, for your weekly reports, where you would send out the weekly sales performance of last week, for example, um, to all your sales rep every Monday morning, 8 a.m. You can choose whatever format you want. You can send a PDF, you can send a PowerPoint, you can actually also send a snapshot of the dashboard and the link to the live dashboard where people can actually drill down into the dashboard with filters, etc. So you have a lot of options to actually automate that delivery, and you can create as many schedules that you want to actually feed into your different teams and for the different type of users as well. The other feature that a lot of retailers like to use is the alerts. So the alerts are based off an event that happens, an event being, for example, the achievement of a certain goal and the reaching of for example, a sales goal. So in this example here in our screenshot, we can see that this is an email that is sent every time the threshold of 50K sales is actually reached.
That's for
And
the good news.
yes, that's what the good news.
So
So you can define what you send to your teams, and you can attach a dashboard, for example, or an image or something that actually helps people understand why the performance went so well. And of course, on the other side, you could also alert whenever you have reached and well, when you're underachieving, maybe you have set goals that you should actually reach at least, I don't know, 10K sales every day, And whenever that goal is not reached, you could alert people as well. And again, attach a dashboard that would actually help people understand what happened and why the underperformance happens. So you have many ways to use the alerts, and this is a feature that a lot of people use in ClicData, and which is really flexible and nice to a nice feature to use. Yep.
It usually has a wonderful impact on user adoption, whether it's your internal teams or your customers or partners, because we're going to notify them when something relevant is actually happening on the dashboard. Then they tend to even look at the recurring reporting more often. So it's quite useful for that user adoption purpose, indeed.
Yeah, and that's a very nice transition to the last topic I wanted to share. Um, so we've titled that "Share Only What Matters." In ClicData, you can actually define what you want to show to every user. So it means that, for example, in the UI itself, you can actually compartment your data, your dashboards, all the information to, for example, your different use cases for teams, for example. So you could say, well, the marketing team can access only this folder, this type of dashboards, and this type of data. That's one first piece. And so that people actually will see only what really matters to them. And again, that would drive adoption. And the other part is about more on the dashboard side. You can actually define what you show on the dashboard to each user who is looking at the dashboard in live, meaning that you can actually show or hide informations on the dashboards, and as well on your reports, on your automated reports that are sent out to your users. So a use case would be, for example, if you were working with a team of suppliers, and they are different suppliers, and you on your end as an admin of ClicData, you will actually build one dashboard that will give information on how the suppliers work with you and how they perform. But when you distribute that to each supplier, each of them would only see their own data and never see the data of their competitors, possibly. And this way, this is a feature that we call the user parameters or the team parameters. And it's a very useful one, just because it's a huge time saver. You don't have to create multiple copies of your dashboards to feed into each team, into each type of user. You can just create one dashboard that is actually relevant for everyone, but then just really define and filter out whatever is relevant to each user. Okay, so I think if we have questions, maybe we should jump into them into the questions section.
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool.
I have a question from Sandra here, who's asking me which profile of retailers we bring most value to. Are we mostly working with store chains or rather e-commerce shops? It's a good question, actually. Sometimes it's one type of channel. We do work quite a bit with e-commerce only kind of shops. They like to connect their e-commerce platform to ClicData and a bunch of other sources so that they can see in live, for example, which product reference is most clicked, so that they can also handle their inventory almost in live, which means under better pricing conditions. But we also sometimes work with retailers that have only physical store chains, and the goal in that is to provide. It's usually to provide both the sales force and the store owners with a good understanding of what they're trying to track. The most recurring case, though, are omni-channels retailers, meaning they're trying to compare the not only the product performance, but the sales, the revenue generation as a whole, um, between different types of channels. So usually we see a lot of cross an aggregation between e-commerce data and physical store data to understand everything that we've covered today, not only where the sales are most generated, but what it takes, the customer satisfaction, all those sort of indicators that will tell us, where is the where from is the performance being driven. So that was the first question, and then I saw another question that would make a lot of sense for everybody. Yeah, the it's a store management question, I believe. The question is as follows: if you're serving multiple store owners with the KPIs, does that mean that, and it's probably a question for you, Anna, does that mean that we need to duplicate the dashboard so that each store owner have its own set of controls, or how does that work?
Yeah, so I think that question might have been answered by the last slide, but I'm just going to repeat that. So, actually, if we just look at this one here, this it can be done on any dashboard, but yeah, you can actually just avoid having copies of your dashboard. You can just create one dashboard that serves them all, so to say, and and make sure that you actually apply user parameters on your dashboards, so that whenever a person connects to the dashboard and logs into the dashboard. Actually, that's a better word. They will see only what is relevant to them and the data that actually applies to them. So it's a huge time saver for the BI manager, and it's also a very convenient and quick way to share. And to provide dashboards for your new customers, for example, or for new incoming people. You don't have to create something new for them. You can just give them access to something existing, and you just have to manage their the user parameter, which you do in a few clicks. So it's a very quick way to share dashboards with multiple people as well. I hope that
Excellent.
answers the question. There.
Good. Well, I think that's it for today and for this new edition of our webinar series. Thanks again for joining us today. It's always a pleasure to have you around. As I said, don't hesitate to check out the replay if you want to revisit some of the details that we covered today, and please don't hesitate to reach out by any of our usual channels if you have any questions. We'll be more than happy to discuss your case, your particular use case, and your project. Hope to see you soon again. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.